Hey everyone, Patreon supported Larry from Seattle, Washington, and you are listening to Ice Cave Radio.
Welcome, friends, to another episode of Ice Cave Radio. This is episode number 43. 43 episodes, gentlemen. It has been quite a journey. My name is Flake. This is a podcast about Star Wars Unlimited and all other Star Wars card games and culture and other nonsense. It is Charmer. It is Doa. Another one with the full gang. We're coming at you full force. Wow. We've got Green Squadron, Red Squadron. What other squadron? What squadron would you want to be?
Gold, there's Rogue, there's
I was gonna say I'm Rogue.
Yeah. I'll be Green Squadron. I like the color green. And Green Squadron A-Wing is one of the best cards in Star Wars Unlimited, so we'll take that. Yeah.
Nobody saying an Imperial Squadron, like Saber Squadron, let's say?
I mean, if we're going there, I would select Inferno.
Yeah.
Inferno Squadron would be my choice there, but you know, I was actually just thinking Poe Dameron doesn't get the respect. Maybe I'm Black Squadron.
Ah, that's true. That's true. My mind just goes to the original trilogy first.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Red, gold.
It used to, but man, like Rogue One really did it for me. So now I'm always like, oh yeah, it's Rogue. So
I consider Rogue One to be. I mean, it's OT era, right? It leads right into A New Hope.
No,
so it's like close enough to me.
It does. I just mean like that. It's still my favorite Star Wars movie, so that's what I think of first now. Like it changed the way that I think of Star Wars as like a jumping off point. Yeah.
Wow. Not many people. I've heard a lot of people say they like Rogue One. I've not heard too many people say Rogue One is their favorite Star Wars movie.
It is my favorite. It finally dethroned Empire for me.
When did it happen?
Was for the longest time.
Was that recently? Because it happened to be recently where Rogue One has basically supplanted Empire as my favorite Star Wars movie of all time.
I would say sometime within the last year, probably. It like kind of snuck up on me because I realized that whenever the kids were like, "Hey, let's watch Star Wars," the first thing I would suggest is like, "You want to watch Rogue One?" And then that's when it like dawned on me that it used to be always like, "Hey, let's watch Empire," and now I'm like, "Hey, let's watch Rogue One," and I was like, "Oh, I guess I've made the leap."
Wow.
It's a good leap to make. I think it's a good leap to make.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's good. I think it's great, but wow.
I still would have loved to have seen the original cut or the original plan for it. Because obviously it's a very well-known story that the theatrical release is nothing like what we were supposed to get. And I remember seeing those early trailers where, you know, Jyn is out on the platform and the TIE fighter comes up, and I was like, oh, I want to see that. Where did that go?
Yeah, I wonder where all that footage went to, because if there's any main criticism you could levy towards Rogue One, I think it's that like the character development was kind of light. Which I think is what people usually say, and I agree with. We didn't get a lot of time to kind of learn about the characters. So I would like, that is one of the few movies. I'm usually not interested in extended cuts, but that is one of the few movies where I would like to see an extended cut, because I feel like there is a lot probably more there that could add to that, make it better.
Show us the Snyder cut. Show us the Snyder cut of Rogue One. But what do we talk about this episode, Charmer? Because I know it's not Rogue One. As much as I'd love it to be, it's not a Rogue One episode.
Well, we're supposed to be covering the news and the headlines for Star Wars Unlimited, like we always do. I believe we're also going to be finally diving into what to expect when you're going to events, local events, potentially store championships, as those will be on the horizon at some point, things like that. Or store showdowns. I forget the exact naming convention right now.
How to find success.
Yeah,
whatever
how to find success.
Is. Yeah.
I was going to say both in terms of like winning, but also having fun. Because in my mind, part of the success is having fun when you attend these events. And then, of course, we have to talk about the cave pull of the week.
The cave pull of the week. Charmer, would you like to do your impression again of the cave pull?
You know, I actually, after I did it the one time, I realized when you were like, hey, I'm going to leave it in, that I have a clip that I can send you because I saved it. It's one time when you were gone and Doa and I did the same thing, because it was like, hey, do the cave poll, pause for the transition. But I did that and then he did it too. And I don't know why. Mentally, whenever we say cave poll of the week, my brain and my inner monologue just goes.
It's just funny because you say do the cave poll like it's like do the Bartman, which was a dance from the 90s to popularize.
Shuffle.
Say the line.
Do the cave poll. I have a not an apology, but there was an error that I made that I will take credit for, which was the Roman numerals for last week's episode were incorrect, and it was just a complete brain fart on me. It wasn't a matter of me thinking that XXLII was 42. I threw an extra X in there. That is on me. I apologize.
It was just a miscommunication. It was supposed to be extra. Like that episode was extra. And so that first X was a descriptor that we shorthanded.
All right. Well, let's get to the cave poll, which is where we're at on this episode every week. And this was the last week that the cave poll will be hosted by Twitter, or that extra X that we're talking about. We will be looking for an alternative. So if you have a suggestion, some people say straw poll, other people say Google Forms or whatever. We're going to do our best, but it'll be in our Discord where you can access the poll, and through Twitter, we will also advertise where to get it. This week, however, what level of Star Wars Unlimited card gamer are you? And your options were casual or kitchen table player, local store weeklies. That's what you want to do. You want to go to those stores, and that's the height of your competitive surge, as it would. I'm a serious competitor. That's an option, as in I'm going to go to the big tournaments and I want to play to win. And the last option is I will be galactic champion. That is ambitious because there will only be one of those per year, the first one being this year. So, Doa, which level of Star Wars Unlimited card player are you?
I would be serious competitor, and I don't say that from the standpoint of I'm necessarily going to go and like compete in these big tournaments and tournaments. I want to go and commentate them. But I think in order to cast a card game well, you have to be at that at least serious competitor level to get the breadth of experience with different decks, different archetypes, different matchups, things like that. So I will be serious competitor for the purpose of learning the game well enough to commentate it. And if I get time playing a tournament, obviously I love playing in tournaments too, but my goal is to be the guy on the mic, as usual.
Charmer, what option did you select?
For the poll, I selected serious competitor, much for the same reason that Doa did, because at the end of the day, I always say that I love card games and I will play them, obviously. And when I play, I like to win. I'm on record both for this game and several other games as saying, like, I hate losing more than I like winning. So I tend to be pretty competitive when I do play, unless it's meant to be big multiplayer formats, but that's its own beast. However, my goal is always to do coverage if I can, because I just really enjoy talking about the things I love, sharing that experience. I've been a professor in the past. I love teaching, mentoring, that sort of thing. Commentary is like one of the best ways to do that. So that's the goal. So I'm hoping that I'm only a serious competitor and that I can compete, but most of the time, if it's a big stage like a Galactic Championship, I hope to be announcing the Galactic Champion. But if I was not planning on casting, I would have selected I will be Galactic Champ.
Wow.
I think this one is kind of just sort of setting the stars for us, which is we all selected serious competitor because...
Well, yeah.
I mean, yeah. Well, part of it is, yes, there's the motivation from all three of us being in the industry as broadcasters that is our goal, and it's not like we are hiding it. That's absolutely what we would like to do, and I completely agree with what Doa says, is that if you want to call the matches of the best in the world, you got to be nipping at their heels to a degree. Obviously, I would much rather win the Galactic Championship than call it. However, you don't get to make that choice. That is, you can choose to commentate. You cannot choose to win the Galactic Championship. I do want to give a lot of props to those who went out there and said, I will be Galactic Champ. And
8%. Oh, was that a spoiler?
It was
higher than I thought it would be. Okay.
No, that's perfectly fair. Let's get to the results first off. And
All right.
The winner was local store weeklies at 52.6%. So more than half.
That makes sense.
I think that's fair. I think that is more or less where the vast majority will be. I was going to say that half of them, half of the people are likely those who are going to spend that one afternoon or that one evening per week to go and test their mettle against people of the same ambition. And don't get me wrong, it does get a little greasy when you get there. It is kind of, the competition can actually be pretty nasty, as there's going to be those who are going to play their pet decks like I do. Like I go there with Palpatine knowing that I'm at probably a disadvantage, but I play what I want to play. But there are those there who are going to, they want those store wins. So 52.6%. Second place, I think that there's no surprise here, 23.7%. Serious competitor. Those who are not just attending their weeklies, but these are probably the people, in my opinion, who are also just have their ear to the ground about when those bigger tournaments are happening.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I think playing at your local store every week, meeting up with your friends, trying new decks, that kind of thing, that's the primary way most people interact with card games. And I think that's the most fun way to interact with card games. And because like most of us out there don't have a huge like friend group outside of the card shop that all plays these games together, you know? So usually the card shop is our place to go to really kind of get to play. So yeah, no surprise to see the biggest percentage there. And I think that's arguably the greatest way to participate with a card game. So yeah, great to see. It's great to see that so many people are interested in going and doing this, because that definitely reflects what I've seen at all the local stores that have been running Star Wars Unlimited Weeklies, is that they're all like 16 plus players every single week, and people are pretty excited. So it's not surprising that the poll kind of reflects that.
Next we've got casual or kitchen table style players, 15.8%. Those are those who just play when they can, who like collecting the cards, who are just going to have some fun, have their pet decks or their cool tribals they want to work on. And last, I will be Galactic Champion. It's like you said, Doa, 7.9%, almost 8% of the respondents saying that is my ambition, is that I will work tirelessly to attain that. That is an inspiring thing, because that actually throws some coal on the fire of the fact that there are people who, between that and the serious competitors, there's about a third of the players that are out there who are going to be populating those and traveling for those big tournaments.
8% is a lot. That sounds like a small number, but it's actually not. If you think about it, that's like almost 1 in 10 people are intent on winning the Galactic Championship, which is a pretty high level of extreme competitiveness compared to a lot of other games in the US, whether it's a video game or a card game. So it's kind of neat to see, because at least in the realm of esports, where I come from professionally, North America is like notorious for being very low on the competitive threshold. Like, just to use League of Legends as an example, I think the last stat, a few years ago or whatever it was in South Korea, like 80-something% of players played ranked matches, and in North America it was like 15. So it's North America has that rep for not being quite as seriously competitive. So it's cool to see, 8% of people say, not only do I want to compete, I want to do everything I can to win the championship. That's exciting to me.
I love it.
Flake, when you said that these folks who say I will be Galactic Champ, that is their ambition, would you say that's their galactic ambition?
Oh my God. All right, let's just go to headlines before I throw you someplace. Headlines this week, friends. Not a whole lot. We did get spoiled last episode with actual cards and the fact that spoiler season is kicking off. However, we did get a nice little glimpse here at some of the products coming out for the next set, which is Shadows of the Galaxy. You've got Moff Gideon and the Mandalorian, the 2-player set, and a lot of the Game-genic cool stuff, the deck boxes, the sleeves. Anything from these catching your eye right off the bat?
I mean, I talked already about how I like the art for both Moff Gideon and the Mandalorian. So yeah, it's cool to see that in boxes and sleeves, which you would expect to see. I'll probably pick up the Mandalorian sleeves at least. Although I like to kind of pick up a starter set and sleeve it up like that, and then put it aside for teaching people the game. So I'll probably do something similar to that, where I'll pick up one for my own collection, and another one to just keep sleeved for teaching people. So yeah, I think it's neat. I'm surprised we're already like really rolling with this next expansion, but I suppose you got to get ready. I'm just excited to increase the card pool and get some more competitive decks out there.
Yeah, I will say this came up at one of the local events I played at this week, where somebody said, I'm really surprised they started spoiler season so soon. And on the one hand, it does feel sooner, but the more I've reflected on it, I realized, of the cards, for example, that we've already seen, a lot of those cards are from the 2-player starter. We've only, I think, had 2 cards from the actual expansion set. So once you factor in, like, okay, we got to get the full deck list of the 2-player starter as well, it makes sense. For the promotional product thing that we got, Flake, the thing that jumped out to me was actually the absence of something. The Gamegenic leaks from that convention months ago now, a month and a half maybe, we kind of talked about how we knew these sleeves and deck boxes were coming because they were leaked on the side, and then there was also the Kylo Ren and the Rey ones that were showcased. Now, they're only announcing obviously the Moff Gideon and the Mandalorian one now, but I'm wondering if when that was shown at the convention, that's actually a teaser for set 3, right? And that's why we're not seeing it now. We might have got like an extra glimpse into the future with that original Gamegenic leak at the convention.
I buy into that. Also, 10 points to you, Charmer, for matching your color scheme of your shirt to the color scheme of the starter set.
I had to be ready for Shadows of the Galaxy, obviously.
Shadows of the Galaxy sounds so much like Shadows of the Empire, which has that purplish, dark kind of, color scheme to it. Man, if they just suddenly come out with Prince Shizor as one of the cards, oh my god.
He's Legends though, isn't he?
He's technically Legends, yeah. But maybe this is their opportunity to just sort of inject some life into it. Imagine Disney or Lucasfilm or whoever makes these decisions just tosses FFG a bone and says, you know what? We're gonna recanonify or recanonize a character.
Canonize.
I don't know if that's even a term.
Making him a saint or something.
Yes. But like we will
Saint Shizor.
We will reintroduce.
We will allow you to reintroduce within the canon. I don't know. I'm sorry. But like, imagine that it was FFG that said, "Hey, Shizor's back on the menu." Like that's a thing. Shadows of the Empire is coming
that would
back.
be neat. One of the things that I had crossed my mind that I think would be a really cool cross promotional opportunity, just based on when this is supposed to release, would be if they were able to connect behind the scenes and some of the characters from Star Wars Outlaws, because that's going to be a very Shadows of the Galaxy style, setting. If we got a card from them in this set, right? I think that would be really neat.
I mean, on the one hand, there's that. On the other hand, I'm like, if I'm making this game, I'm like, well, this gives me a lot of ammunition for more cards down the road. So, it's like if you're gonna keep the game going for years, you got to save some stuff in reserve. So,
obviously
cool
not do all of them. I just like, if you just get one, right? And then the reason I was thinking about it is, and it could even just be like artwork, right? Like it could be an event, but you just use them for the artwork, but. Yeah. It would be a neat cross-promotional opportunity, and I love the idea. It makes me miss when physical games were a thing, because I would love the idea of like you get, the card as something in your game case just to get people to go check it out or something, But
that'd be cool. I saw I saw something, a YouTube video or somewhere online where there was this theorizing that the starter set was purple because maybe there'd be a new purple color, and I'm like. Nah, like a new aspect would be neat, and I hope we get something like that eventually. But that's not like that's not a first expansion thing for a card game. That's a major inclusion. So if we ever see that, I think that'll be down the road. I think it's just purple because it's a shadowy sort of.
Listen, I agree with you. It looks purple to me as well, but that actually spawned a separate thing. This was the Star Wars Unlimited "What color is the dress" moment because Nerd Parker, our friend over at SwooDB, had posted something similar about the color, and a lot of the replies were like, "No, that's blue. No, that's purple. No, that's blue." It looked purple to me, but it was very clearly hey, this is, what color is the dress for Star Wars
Is
Unlimited?
it gold or is it blue? Which is such a weird thing to me.
Well, it's sort of that purple that's sort of like starting to go into the blue sort of spectrum that like the Minnesota Vikings use for their jerseys and things. And Fantasy Flight's based in Minnesota, so maybe there's some correlation there. I don't know. I'll just start wildly theory-crafting. We'll have a Minnesota Vikings Star Wars Unlimited crossover. There you go.
Oh God! Hey, whatever gets us into the stadium, I'm in, man.
Wake me up when the Packers show up. That's my team. Yeah.
Oh, there you have it.
Pack? Did you say pack?
Yeah.
No. Are we?
Packers.
Do you? Is it emergency pack time?
It's like an OP pack.
Oh, it's an OP pack.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. I got two. So I don't have actual packs. Locally here, a lot of the stores are low, so they are saving them for running drafts and things. But one of the places that I go to, because I go to a bunch, but one of the places I go to is Hoplite Games in Lansing, Michigan. And when I was there and I was talking about the emergency pack thing, he said, "Hey, do you want me to just give you some OP packs for emergency packs?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely."
Nice.
Rip them open.
Yeah.
We're gonna see if we can hit some OP. I don't even know what the expensive ones are. Obviously, like the hyperfoils are more sought after.
Foil
than
Bosk,
that,
I think, is up there. I
bet that one.
Bosk is certainly one.
Yep.
We have
You got to center it.
hyperspace.
Put it closer
Leia
to the
start
microphone.
Things off.
Can't see
Nice,
it. Yeah,
nice.
there we go. That's what we want. Put it closer
You
to the
said put it closer to the microphone. That's not going to help visually.
No, but it's centering it
So the
into
problem is because I have my focus set. This is probably
there you go,
ideal.
right there.
Yeah,
no, I'm
there
just
you
talking
go.
about because everything your videos are cropped to fit into the.
Oh yeah, that's fair. All right, so Battlefield Marine. We have the Leia.
Battlefield Marine's a good one, I think. Yeah.
Resupply.
Oh, hey, now that's a pretty good
one. That'll go into a deck
for sure. That'll go into a deck. There you go.
All right.
And then just for giggles here,
are you gonna
do number 2?
Oh, you're not even saving them.
I really like the hyperfoil starter cards.
These ones
I need a whole set of those.
These ones were the donated ones, right? So I do actually still have my own from this week. These were just the ones that Rick at Hoplite was kind enough to donate to the show. So this is a Vader's lightsaber, followed by an Admiral Mati. So this one's very Vader, and a Sabine.
There you go, your favorite one.
So it's not foil, but I will take it. Absolutely, I will take as many Sabines as I can get my hands on.
Well done.
Isn't there an alternate art Sabine one or something like that, or is that the one?
This is so
That
it's
is
just
the
not
one.
foil,
Okay.
but this is different from her normal art.
Oh yeah, I see. It's kind of small.
Man. Well, I'm going to Harry Tarantula this weekend and hopefully winning some of those myself, if they even have any left. Who knows? But
I'm going to my first local in the LA area tomorrow night, so we'll see what I can do.
What are you
Go
playing?
easy on Doa.
I'm running. Well, I'm gonna run Sabine Cunning, so we'll see how that goes. I think that deck has legs, especially in the mirror. I could be wrong, but that's the fun of locals is theory crafting and trying things out.
I'm still playing a version of Cunning Sabine right now when I play Sabine, if only because I am missing aggressions to run my double red one that I want to run.
Oh, sure.
All right.
I think it's just more fun. I think the Cunning version is just more fun than the command version too, but that's just me.
Well, so I'm a weirdo. I actually run R2D2 in all my Sabine lists because I like having the 1/4 body, and I also like that it's a rebel and it interacts with a lot of the things you want to do.
Yeah.
But it works even better in the Cunning version because you can do, assuming you have them both, right? You can do an R2D2 attack first to decide if the card you want is something you want revealed for Ezra. And so it makes playing stuff off of the top of your deck with Ezra like that much more efficient. So
let's move to a little bit of the art spoilers. So we can cruise through these. There was a plethora of them that were kind of dropped on us earlier this afternoon. It is currently about 7:15 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday, April 10th. So we're playing with what we've got. And ultimately, yeah, I'd say about like 4 or 5 hours ago, we got just a dump of all kinds of cool artwork, not cards, but just the artwork, which will be here on the screen on the YouTube channel, just kind of cycling through. But I'm going to ask you gentlemen first, and Charmer, you could lead us off. If there's any one or two that really pique your interest, because I know that we're eventually going to dive into these when they're revealed, so I don't want to go too deep into it, because I do want to eventually get to the topic du jour, as it would be. But which of these artworks have really piqued your interest? And Doa, if you've got one, fire away. But
yeah, I've got one right off the bat. If you want to jump to me,
yeah, let's do it.
Not to preempt Charmer, but the looking through the art here, the ones that excited me the most are Forlom and Zuckuss, because that seems to indicate that we'll hopefully get a lot of bounty hunters, and I would love to just have a deck full of bounty hunters and just kind of play around that, see what synergies we can come up with. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
I loved doing that, so I was excited for those. But for me, I know you said one or two, but technically it's three, but two of them are kind of grouped together. I was very surprised to see stuff from the Han Solo movie. So immediately Enfys Nest and Kira both jumped out to me. I thought that was really neat, and I hope that they, get cards, and that's not just necessarily for like event art or whatever. But then the other one that jumps out to me, even though the art is a little unsettling for this version of Jabba because of the big drool. But Jabba jumped out at me because the more I started thinking about it, the more I realized that I feel like this is the set we're going to get a Jabba leader card. I think that this is, Shadows of the Galaxy is when we can expect a Jabba leader, and I bet he's going to do something cool with all those bounty hunters that you were mentioning, Doa. At least that's my hope. So that was the other one that jumped out. I was excited to see the Han Solo characters, but also when I saw Jabba, I was like, oh yeah, like we got Jabba, but Jabba's like leader material, so I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, I mean, he is like literally a leader in universe, so I'd be shocked if we didn't get it at some point, if not this set. Another piece of art I really liked in this, that I'm not sure what it goes with really, but the Boba Fett art, which looks like it's a book of Boba Fett art, because he's sitting in he's sitting in kind of the throne. So is this like that era? I don't know, but I think
Daimyo
that's just a cool
Boba.
picture of Boba Fett. Oh, Daimyo Boba, yeah. I think that's a cool. I mean, I wasn't like a huge fan of that show, but I do think that is a really cool piece of Boba Fett art. So
I think that Boba Fett,
and it fits in with the theme. So
it's going to be an event, I think, or an upgrade or a bounty or something along those lines. I don't think that they're going to print a second Boba Fett right away, even though it is a bounty hunter related set. We have a Boba leader, we have a Boba character. I think that we can't shake that tree too much.
You don't want to overload on Boba Fett's.
Yeah,
sure.
You don't want to Boba load. You can't do that.
There's a couple clone. What are they? Clone Force 99, the Bad Batch, the Bad Batch dudes. There's IC Tech, and then the other guy. I'm not like a huge Bad Batch aficionado, but I recognize two of them at least. But I don't know one of their names, thus proving what I just said. But I recognize Tech because he's got the cool extra sort of helmet with the goggles and things.
So the one thing that pops into my head immediately was the same as you, Doa, which I think was Zuckuss and Forlom, but for different reasons. And the reason is that their artwork is very similar, and it reminded me of one of my favorite comic book artists of all time, David Aja, or it's AJA and it's a Spanish artist. So I don't know if it's Aja or Aja. I assume it's Aja, but okay. David Aja did all the artwork for the I think it was the Matt Fraction run of Hawkeye that came out.
Yes.
And it is...
I'm not a big comic book guy, so...
Okay, it is one of the best books that I've read because it was very real. And basically, just to sort of sum up what that comic is about, it's about Hawkeye being the only non-superhero powered person on a superhero team. So, like, when it's funny because, like, there's a scene where he'll crash out of a window and do all this stuff and save the day, and then it's like the next panel is like all the Avengers at the hospital being like, all right, well, we'll see you in like 3 weeks because you need to heal because you're not like us. Like, but it's so well written, but the artwork is very akin to this, and I really, really like it. It's very stylistic, but just seeing Zuckuss, seeing Forlom in that art style is so awesome, because those are two amazing bounty hunters. They have a very significant presence in Star Wars CCG by Decipher. They were very impactful in that game. But the other one that I want to mention that sort of has the brains turning is the Han and Chewie, because I'm seeing this card in two ways. The first one is it's an event that says something along the lines of like, if Han is your leader or Chewie is your leader and the other one is on the board, like they get a bonus, or it's like an equipment or something that you could put. Very much like in Star Wars CCG, there's a lot of interrupts or effects that, like, if you had the cast together or two like this duos together, they just become supercharged. And the other one that I'm thinking about is leaders that are two things together, like Han and Chewie, but that do something
dual
unique.
Leaders.
Yeah, like a dual leader that it's not like they're going to carry extra, they're not going to have an extra aspect or anything, but maybe they flip for like 8 or 9 and they do something together. It's like Han and Chewie together as a unit, and it's like this big behemoth of a duo, right? That's what I'm seeing when I see this. But ultimately, the first thing I think about this is more so along the lines of like an event or an upgrade. It's not going to be a character.
That would be interesting. It's got to be an event, right? Because it seems like it's sort of like, well, an event happening in the art. I think that about the Sand People one too, because it looks like event type art where it's like, this is something that's happening. The guy's showing off his new bowling ball. That's exciting. It's like, it just came back. It's custom. Yeah. They're like,
it has my name engraved on it.
We shall bowl tonight.
Yeah, it's a U, then an R, an apostrophe, then 4 more R's, then an apostrophe.
If you look really close too, when he's holding the bowling ball and raising up and down, they actually reverse the footage. It's something to keep an eye out for.
Oh man, the one thing that bothers me about the artwork about this one though is if you see the sight lines of all the other Tusken Raiders, there's only one of them that's looking at the ball, and one of them, the leftmost one, has like a crooked eye, and then the other two are looking directly up, as if the crate dragon is there about to pounce on them. That's
a good point. They're not really looking at him. They're all like looking up in the air.
Yeah, it's like that sitcom trope where somebody's talking smack about somebody and they're just standing behind them. Like I feel like that's what's going on. Like the Tusken Raiders.
It's like they were all cheering for him, and then we're like,
oh,
and they noticed something behind him or something.
So given that they're standing in what looks like something's rib cage, I'm wondering if this is actually a bloody crate dragon pearl.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah. No, you're totally right.
It is. That's what it is.
Dragon is behind them, and so this guy's like, "I got the pearl," and they're all like, "There's another one."
No, I think you're totally right.
Didn't
that happen in like an episode of Mandalorian or something like that, or Book of Boba Fett? I can't remember. There was like, I feel like in one of the Disney Plus series there was a crate dragon pearl oriented plot line.
Yeah, it was Book of Boba Fett, I think, where they or it was like in the Mandalorian part of it, I think, where they go and they just completely ice a crate dragon, and then all the Tusken Raiders go and we got it.
That does lend credence to the Daimyo Boba Fett art being that we get something from that era. So
and then
interesting.
Lenny, the Tusken Raider, went and bowled a perfect game with it, which is incredible.
True.
Good for you, Lenny.
The other thing is we haven't even mentioned Salacious Crumb yet.
Oh, let's go do that. Yeah, and
he's got a piece of art there. So I would just like to know what a Salacious Crumb card does, because I feel like there's a lot of fun things you could do with that, because he's by definition kind of an annoying character. So how do you make a card around him that's annoying for your opponent to deal with that will cause you to cackle with glee?
Oh, well, when it comes to annoying things and cackling with glee, I think that this is a Charmer thing to comment on.
Oh.
You are the daimyo of dad jokes, and
I feel like the way that you do it is you make somebody like Grogu, right? It's got to be something that doesn't actually impact in a positive way. It's just running interference. So if it's not that, because obviously like a Grogu already exists. I imagine this could be like the, villainy cunning version of Grogu. So maybe it's you get a big discount on an event like a turbo Bib Fortuna, or
Ooh.
I don't think they would ever put like recursion on a body unless it's like a when played. I don't think they would ever give you like you can keep exhausting to get something back, but maybe you play him and he gets you a trick back from your discard pile.
It's got to be some sort of support thing because he's kind of there supporting Jabba with laughter. But I take issue with you saying that he should be a villainy card. He's he's just as trapped in Jabba's palace as everybody else. If you read the old Decipher Star Wars CCG card, it's we learn that Salacious Crumb is forced to make Jabba laugh at least once per day or he dies. So I think Salacious Crumb is just he's just trying to live and just survive. I would never call him a villain personally.
So what if his ability was something along the lines of, what if he was like a 2-drop, a 0/3 2-drop or something like that, or a 1/3 2-drop that said, if you can exhaust it to exhaust an opponent's resource.
Oh no, that'd be so annoying. That'd be another one of those cards where it's like it's essentially extra health on your base because you have to deal with it.
Yeah, but it's annoying.
Maybe I have to retract my earlier statement too, because he does kind of like rip out C-3PO's eye. So maybe he does have a little bit of a villainous streak in him too.
Maybe he did it to make Jabba laugh. He's like, look at this idiot.
Yeah, maybe he was just trying to survive.
It's tough out there for the crumbs.
When do we get Book of Salacious Crumb? Although he probably died in the sail barge explosion, didn't he? Like we need that extra special edition clip where Salacious Crumb is like diving out of the sail barge with the explosion happening behind him and stuff.
You might be wondering how I got myself into this mess.
Yep, that's me.
He just uses C-3PO's eye as like a bargaining chip for like a poker game, and then it just like cuts to 10 months later and he's running his own cantina.
He wins a ship from Lando, and yeah.
That's what I want to see.
Lando's like, I gotta stop losing ships this way.
All right.
Yeah, so that's a question too. If we're seeing some Han Solo stuff, do we get like a Star Wars story era Lando as well? That's another question.
Okay.
We'll have to wait and see, I guess.
I think we already had some art teased that had the.
Oh yeah, you're right. No, we did.
Glover.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. I totally forgot about that. Yeah. So I guess we'd get some form of that then. Okay.
I accidentally said Danny Glover instead of Don Glover. Donald Glover.
I was gonna say,
he
don't
could
say
play Lando too. Yeah.
He tells that incredibly funny story about when he first joined Twitter. If you've never heard it, the short version is his dad has the same name, and his dad had the handle @Donald Glover, and so he took Don Glover when he joined.
Yes.
And he was like, and I used it for years, and nobody, was kind enough to point out that my Twitter handle was Dong Lover.
It was Dong Lover, yeah. All right.
I and he were too innocent to think of that until you.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew it all along.
Like, you just feel like, oh, it's your name. Like,
yeah.
I have a confession to make, gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
I opened that third weekly.
Of course
play
you did. You
promo
can't
pack.
help yourself.
I was wondering
I can't
what
help
you were
myself. It was
looking
in
at,
front of me. I should have never put it in front of me. I have another Vader's lightsaber,
Nice.
another Admiral Mahdi, and then what was it we were talking about earlier?
Sabine. Oh, what is that?
Oh, it's the Bosk. The
foil Bosk.
Foil. Yeah,
Oh.
the foil alternate art Bosk. Nice. That's a great looking card, isn't it?
Must be
Yeah,
nice.
I love the
those.
foiling on the weekly play promos because it has this like ripple effect. They're so clean.
Must be
It is
nice.
really cool. Yeah.
All right.
I had to grab one of those for my Boba Fett deck. So.
All right, friends. Let's get to the task at hand, which is the topic du jour this week, which we've been trying to get to for a little while. But hey, we're here, and that's what we're going to do. How to set you up for success for your weekly tournaments or just some of a little more competitive scene. Not necessarily, hey, how this is going to help you win a galactic championship, but this might help you be prepared and maybe shave a little of the anxiety and the pressures off of going to your weekly event. And part of that is just the fact that, we did the poll earlier, and there's a lot of people who are going to be attending those weeklies and above and whatnot, but there are some who might be a little bit more hesitant to dip their toe into that pool because, yeah, it can be a little bit intimidating. My first foray into playing against a stranger at a card store was a little rough. It's a little bit spooky and scary, but that's what we're here for. So, let's go into, I suppose, the first little steps about this, because let's say, for example, I've got one at 12:30 on Saturday at Harry Tarantula. You've got some coming up as well. So how about that? What to get prepared for? Let's say the day before you're going. Let's go through some of those tips and tricks, I suppose, to get people prepped. Who wants to kick off with some wisdom?
I'll just fire off a very quick one. Because this is the one I am most guilty of not doing. Sleeve your stuff ahead of time, because I am so bad at waiting until like the last minute to sleeve whatever new deck I want to take this week for playing or testing or whatever. And I will literally be like trying to sleeve as fast as I possible and then racing to the thing, because I will wait till the very last minute. I will do all of the like deck planning and thought process and so much, but when it comes to actually getting the cards out and sleeving them, I am awful at that. And you don't want to be like hurried when you're doing that, because you will make mistakes and sometimes it results in bad things happening to your cards. I have like dropped 4-row boxes of stuff because I'm like trying to hurry to get to the store or get to the event, and it's not fun. So just make sure you have all your stuff. Not just sleeves, but make sure you have your mat. One piece of advice that I would recommend is just get yourself like a gaming backpack and always fill it with the things that you would need, right? So common items would be like a pen and paper for life totals, or for taking notes or for whatever, right? It's just handy to have one of those. Even with this game, when you use the damage counters, it's still sometimes nice to write down like, hey, I remember running into this interesting deck. Maybe I want to try something out later, etc. I also always take a water bottle. Usually I try to put a snack or two in it, because you don't know when you have a Snickers moment, right? Like you're not you when you're hungry. So I do those things as well. And I also always take extra sleeves in case something happens. If you're shuffling and you split one, for example. So I obviously sleeve up my stuff, but I will always keep like a thing of extra inner and outer sleeves when I go. Trying to think if there's anything else that I'm missing, but that's the crux of what I take. In fact, I got my backpack right here.
and he's gone. He just disappeared.
Yeah, there he goes.
I think that's fair. I mean, ultimately, and it's a great backpack. That's the one I recommended to you, isn't it? Like ages ago?
Yeah. So fun fact, when I got back into playing physical card games, because I'd been covering digital for a long time during the pandemic, I was like, man, I just miss playing cards with people. So I wanted to pick up something new. That's when I started playing Flesh and Blood. And I hadn't played in a long time. So I reached out to Flake and I said, hey, like, what do you recommend for a backpack to go to events and whatever? And he sent me an Amazon link to this. Now, what I didn't know at the time was that Flake didn't own this. He was just like, yeah, that looks like a good one. So he let me buy this one. And then he asked me like a month later, hey, how's that bag working out? And I was like, dude, I love it. It was a great suggestion. Thanks. And so then he bought a different one that was $10 cheaper, but he just wanted to make sure that it fit my needs. So
that's the way to do it.
Just so you know what you're dealing with when Flake gives you advice.
It wasn't my fault.
It has been a fantastic bag.
It was more or less the same
that's
bag.
The thing I have in here, backup battery for my phone, because if your phone dies. A trade
You're way
binder.
more prepared than I have ever been going to a card game event.
That's why we're.
Well, so the nice thing is once you get a bunch of that stuff together, and this is why I recommend the bag. Once you get a bunch of it together, a lot of it just stays there. The only thing I really move in and out anymore is like the deck that I'm taking. If I run out of sleeves, I'll replace the spare sleeves I'm using. There's also, I don't have it in there right now, but there's a small extra accessory from Gamegenic that I use that's like a zip up thing that can hold exactly 3 decks in it, but I carry 2 deck boxes and dice in it. And the deck boxes are filled with empty sleeves, and I call that my limited case. So basically, anytime I draft or play sealed, I pull that out, and I just use those sleeves over and over again for when I play limited and the dice or whatever tokens I need. But yeah, like once you get it all around, then it's very low maintenance. So it has done wonders for me. The only again, so like because I have this is why I get lazy and I wait to sleeve until I'm like walking out the door because everything else is already around.
See,
I was wondering about that. I haven't built my Sabine deck for tomorrow yet, so I gotta.
Oh, you gotta get on that, Doa. Like,
yeah, that is a good point.
Well, the main thing is like basically is, and I completely echo this, is the fact that you're going to save yourself so many headaches if you just the night before you take an inventory and make sure that you have everything you need, and that's exactly it. Because nobody wants to do the thing where you're okay, like I got to leave in 10 minutes. Let me grab the deck. Oh wait, where's my extra overwhelming barrage, or where's this sideboard card, or I'm missing this sleeve or whatever, and then suddenly you're late and it's all downhill from there. So the best thing to do, like Charmer says, is the night before is to get everything settled, completed, and in your bag, including everything that you're going to need for that day, be it a whole day event, like at a major event, or just 3 or 4 hours at your LGS. Get your charger in there, a snack, a water bottle, all the cards you need, sleeves, tokens, and everything. Put it in your bag and put the bag by the door. That's the best thing. That way you can just pick up and go, and you'll sleep better too. Like I guarantee you'll sleep better.
I've got a backpack I always use for card game stuff, but I also use it when I go and work remotely for stuff, so things are going in and out of it. But yeah, I have my standard backpack at least.
But it's prepared. See, you're already ahead of the curve here.
It's prepared enough. Yeah, yeah.
So I used to use the same one for that, Doa, but now for like work / casting stuff, I was kind enough to get a really, really nice backpack from Riot for Legends of Runeterra, and so that's become my like casting bag. So
nice.
It's a good bag.
It's a great bag.
I as far as my prep advice for events, I think my thing is more on the mental side of it, which is know what you're trying to accomplish. And that can be a big variety of things. And all of these things should include having fun. Obviously, that's the number one reason you should go, is to have fun. But how are you going to have fun? For instance, am I going to try a deck build out that I don't know if it's going to work, but it seems fun, and I'm just going to go try it out? Then I'm going into it with no expectations. If I go 0-4, I'm going to be fine with that, or 0-3. I'm going to be fine with that because, I was just testing it out anyway. Am I going to learn the game too, which a lot of people I think are going to do? Like every local I've been to, I think I've ran into a couple of people where this is their first TCG. So a lot of people are going to just learn how to play better. And so if you go into that with that attitude, again, you don't put your enjoyment centered around winning. You can lose every single game. Like when I think about Flesh and Blood, I mean, that game's really hard. Like I probably lost every game at my locals for the first month before I started winning, but I had a ton of fun because I was like, yeah, I'm just learning this game and it's hard and that's great. And everyone's really nice. And, after I play my games, I talk with my opponent about, what I could have done better, what they were doing well. And I really focus on that aspect of it. So that's my greatest piece of advice is set a reason for yourself why you're going. Like, what is going to be the source of your fun this time? Is it going to be testing a deck? Is it going to just be simply playing and evaluating your own play and getting better? Are you really going to try to win? Is this the weekly where it's like, all right, I've been training, I think my deck is good, I think I'm ready, I'm going to try to win it this week? So just have an objective, have a reason in mind, so that then at the end of the night, you can be like, all right, well, did I meet my goals? Did I lose every game, but I learned, so then, I don't have to feel bad about that. So I think that helps, is just have a reason in mind for going, Am I going to just trade? Am I going to go and just play some games and have fun and try to wheel and deal and increase my collection? That can be another totally legit reason to go too. So yeah, just have a goal in mind for the night.
Doa, a wise clown once said that you're not losing if you're learning. So,
right.
There you go.
I do want to just piggyback off the learning thing real quick and say, earlier I mentioned like pen and paper, right? So like this is a notebook. If you're listening, sorry you can't see it, but on YouTube I'm holding it up. I have a bunch of these because my day job sends me to conferences all the time, but I always keep at least one because, and especially right now with Star Wars, because it's set one, everything's wide open. I've just been taking a new deck every week and then writing down, what worked, what did I lose, So having one of these is handy. But the other thing I just remembered that I do for these, and this is another good tip that will matter probably a lot more later when things are no longer in beta for the tournament software. But you probably can't see it very well. But up here on the top corner, I always write down my player IDs. So I have my Flesh and Blood ID, my Star Wars ID, and then I also write them down for my son Stark when I take him as well, because, we're all starting a new game and you probably don't have it memorized yet. So
it's way more prepared in every aspect of your.
This
your
is an
card
episode
game
for
playing
you,
than I've ever
Doa.
been. I guess so. Maybe. I don't think I can ever reach that level of preparedness. That's he's.
You will.
I think
Let me
Charmer's
tell
the
you, you
galactic
will,
champion.
because you are still a new dad. But once they're up and walking, and you have to be like, hey, I have to have all these things for this traveling, source of chaos.
I'm prepped when it comes to baby stuff. When it comes to card game stuff, though,
Yeah.
30 years in, I don't think I'm getting any better at this.
I used to be the same way, and what happened is when I started doing the dad thing more, it just bleeds into everything else. So
You are right there.
Yeah.
It does make you more organized overall. But
Well, like, think about it
my
this way.
limits.
I mean, if you pull a showcase and it's like for the hero that you really want to play, you might treat it the same way, Doa. You might have the same kind of care as you do for your wonderful daughter. But I don't have kids. But it's weird because like the next level for what Charmer's saying, writing down your ID or whatever, I have them all memorized for some reason. I have all those numbers memorized. My Gem ID, my Star Wars U ID, and all that stuff. They're all swimming around in my brain because there's nothing else there to occupy it. Things that matter more. But I like what you say when it comes down to it, Doa, which is when you're going to the event, make sure you understand, or you're well settled on what the objective is. And it could be just to have fun. It could be to improve. It could be to test. It could be to win. And that sort of leads to what I want to get at, which is you have to be okay to lose. And that is it seems so arbitrary, but it's so important because that's something that you'll take home with you, and that's what you carry back. That is the extra luggage that you do not want to have lugging you down when you get back. If you're going and your objective is to win and you lose, you're going to feel upset. But you have to make sure that you're prepared for that, because it is something that will haunt you, sure, but it also might ruin the experience for people around you. And I've seen this and I've been around it where you might beat somebody, or you might make a play, or you might stop somebody, and you could see the frustration on their face and whatever, and then they're having a bad time and they're reflecting it back at you. And it's fully understandable because it's not fun when things go bad. But if you are ready to, you have to approach it from the perspective, I guess what I'm saying is there's always something to take out of it, whether it's a non-successful venture. Because if your objective is to go and test your deck, then you're getting something out of it. But if your objective is to go and win the whole thing, but you lose in the top 8, or you don't make the top 8, you've fallen short, but there's something to be gained there. And you have to, I think, have a broader scope of finding the positives amidst a quote-unquote failed mission, or a failed venture to these events. So I think that having that mindset is important, so that it doesn't discourage you from going back. If you come out of it with just this shroud of negativity haunting you because of it, you're not going to want to cut through it. You're not going to want to go back because you're going to want to avoid it again. And that's a very unfortunate approach to it, because you're missing out on so many opportunities. You can't win every event. The vast majority of people are going to be coming away with nothing, as it were. But that doesn't mean that there isn't something there to take back with you. And I think that that's an important aspect of it too, is just finding the silver lining when things are going poorly. And I promise you, that kind of thing, we're talking about prep for tournaments. It's not just about, hey, get a good coffee in you, get a good night's sleep, and make sure that you have a good sideboard. It goes so much beyond that. And I'm glad that you mentioned the mental aspect, Doa.
Well, I think there's an important thing, and this kind of, if I could become like Doa life coach for a moment, This is something that I think is important to think about all the time, which is is this activity results focused or progression focused? And this can apply to, TCGs, obviously, where it's like most of the time when you go play your card game, you're going to be progression focused, where it's like the wins and the losses don't really matter. What matters is, did I get better as a player of this game? And if that's your objective and you do get better, then, every night is a win, right? Figuratively speaking. Then you've got the results-based things where it's like, I'm going to this tournament for the purpose of winning, and then the result of my performance is what I'm caring the most about and what I'm putting most effort into it. And I mean, that's like, same for like your job too, right? You have a meeting, a presentation you really need to nail. That's a results-focused situation. Most day-to-day things for most jobs are progression-focused, right? Am I getting a little bit better at my job each day? That kind of thing. So I think that mindset, is for this particular event or this particular instance of what I'm doing, am I results focused or am I progression focused? And identifying which one of those is the case, I think, is key to sort of navigating a lot of things with a little bit more calmness, a little bit less nerves.
That's a good approach. I think that's definitely important. Another one I want to add in here is I find that a lot of players will make mistakes, and a lot of that can be circumvented by players just taking their time. And I think that this is important as well. Nobody's an expert on the rules yet. Nobody's a master at the game yet. There's so much latitude for improvement, for covering more ground on understanding things and that. But one of the mainstays of everything is that it's a very complex game with a lot of decisions to make on any particular turn. What you do versus what your opponent does might change everything back and forth. So it's important that when you're going into a turn that you're not just saying, hey, I'm just going to slap down this 2-drop because it's turn 1. Maybe the important part is to maybe you use your Sabine ability first and then drop. Maybe you drop and then don't Sabine because you want your initiative over using the Sabine ability. Things of that nature. There's so many decisions that are seemingly not there but are actually there, as it were, that these are the types of things that you will not see until you kind of sit down and really say, what can I do? Because it's not just a matter of, well, it's turn 1, I drop my 2-drop and that's it. Like, there's so many other avenues that you can take. And as the game progresses, obviously that's going to be more complex. So it's important for you to take your time as a beginner, as an average player, above average to elite. The one thing that everybody has in common is that they are prone to mistakes, and those mistakes are typically hiding behind haste. And that's where they kind of come. So if you're hasty, if you're, that's where the mistakes happen. So improvement, preparation, things like that, taking your time is integral to seeing all the lines and making a well-balanced decision, which will improve you as a player. It'll improve you as an opponent against your opponent, because you'll make less mistakes. You'll ask for less redos, things of that nature. I made a mistake this past weekend, but it was a rules-related mistake. It was something that I didn't understand, that I was like, my opponent dry passed. I took the initiative thinking the turn would be over. It is not. That is on me. I just owned that mistake. I said, I said, if I passed, would I have kept the initiative in the game? And he said, yeah. I said, well, I'm owning my mistake. I didn't understand the rule. That's on me. That's not on you. I should have taken the time better, because I just hastily did it. But I could have asked. I could have just said, hey, is the rule XYZ? And they would have explained it to me. But I was a little too fast, and it cost me the game, frankly. It cost me the game, because I gave them an entire 7-resource turn to do whatever the hell they want to me, and I just had to sit there and eat it. So take your time. Take your time and communicate. Super important.
I think like 90% of the mistakes I make in card games is because I'm playing too fast. I do that all the time, where I'm just like, I get into a conversation with my opponent, or I'm just playing too quickly and not thinking it through. Like that is my Achilles heel as a card game player, is playing a little bit too quick. So definitely watch out for that one. But another thing to go along with that, because a lot of times at a local, if you mess up, you'll be like, oh, sorry, I didn't, mean to do that. Could I reverse that? And a lot of times your opponent will be like, yeah, sure, fine. And I will do that for my opponent a lot too, where they're like, oh, they'll do something, then right away they'll be like, oh, no, wait. I'll let them take it back a lot, which I think is good etiquette for locals for the most part. But for myself, I try to not walk back decisions ever, because I want to feel the pain of that mistake and then remember it so that I'm less likely to make it next time. So that's I can't recommend that for everybody, but I prefer to be like, no, I need to lose this game so I remember and I don't make this mistake when it matters more at like a bigger event,
I actually would recommend it for everyone, not only because it can help you remember through the pain, right? The pain is a great reminder, but the other thing that it does is that sometimes when you're playtesting with friends and you allow those walkbacks, you get so used to piloting a game through what would be called like a perfect game, right? A perfect piloting. But the reality is, when you go to events, whether they're big or small, none of us play perfect, especially not at this stage of the game. So learning to play after you've made a mistake, instead of just like bombing the entire rest of the game, just saying like, okay, that was one mistake, what do I do now, is also a really important skill to develop. And at, low stakes events and your locals and whatever, it's a great time to hone it. Just saying like, yeah, I messed up, but game's not over yet, so what do I do now? That sort of thing.
Adapt, absolutely. And I'm the same way. I'll always allow, for low stakes games, I'll allow my opponent a redo, unless it's like the finals or something, then in which case, but for the most part, and part of that is for me to improve, I want to play against the ideal plays. If like a lot of times, if they catch a mistake, obviously in their mind they had a better play or a more optimal play that they wanted to take. So I'll allow the redo, because for me, it's more along the lines of like, okay, I want to play against what the optimal play would have been, because that's how I get better. And same to what you're saying, Doa, and same to what you're saying, Charmer, I don't want to walk back my mistakes. And it's the same, when I made the mistake about taking the initiative thinking the turn would end, my opponent reluctantly, and, it was like, well, if you want, I said, no. I'm like, I just wanted clarity on the rule. I'm going to own it, and I'm going to suffer the consequences, because this might happen in a competitive game. If the REL, if the rule enforcement level is pro or high level, then I won't be afforded that luxury. So how do I improve? I improve by playing against the optimal plays and living with my mistakes. And I think that is something that, we're talking about the poll of the people who want to be serious competitors. If you want to jump from your weeklies to be a serious competitor, if you want to go from that bracket to the other bracket, that is something that you should probably put into your playing repertoire of habits, which is in low stakes games, allow your opponents to walk back their mistakes and live with yours. You will become a much better player down the line. You'll make fewer mistakes, and you'll be able to adapt to those mistakes so much better. Because if you're playing at a competitive level and your opponent does make a mistake, that's all honky-dory to you, but it might happen to you. You best know how to recover from your own, stupidity or misjudgment in that regard. Oh, man. And like, I was thinking about this because I was playing this past weekend and I made that mistake, and I was thinking, man, like, imagine if I'm sitting across from Charmer, right? And I'm playing against Charmer, and I don't even have a lead into this. I'm thinking of one.
So it's at the Galactic Championship, and you realized that while you thought you had the game sealed up, you actually made a critical mistake. What would you say to that?
I would say, because you two will be in the booth calling this, I will look at the camera straight up like this, and I will say, Charmer, Doa, I have a bad feeling about this.
I got a bad feeling about this.
I have a bad feeling about this.
I've got a bad feeling about it.
Quiet.
As it is, the bad feeling mailbag Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to get back into the mailbag. A light week, so we're actually going to dig into some of the backlog that we had from previous weeks. But if you do want to get in touch with us, the best way, friends, by the way, is through Discord. That's where all of our questions this week. And now's a good time to tell you, we do have a Patreon, and part of your Patreon benefits are priority for the mailbag. So there's a tier for you, I promise you, as low as $2 a month, all the way up to $20 a month for some cool swag and some cool benefits. So check us out at patreon.com/icecaveradio. But I'll kick off the mailbag this week. Let's go with Gorilla Guile, or Gorilla Gee, or Geal, or Guile. Gorilla, how do you counter build for a meta deck? I know it was talked about a bit in a previous episode, but what does the process practically look like when prepping a deck? I think that's a good question. It kind of fits into what we want to talk about this week. Does anyone want to take a kick at this one?
Yeah. What I usually do is I try to first determine what makes the meta deck good to begin with, right? Is it a specific combo that it's trying to pull off? Does it has a power spike at a certain turn or a certain moment? What is it about the meta deck that I'm trying to counter that I'm so worried about? Because then if I can stop that, I'm a good, way into already counter building, right? Like the idea is, so like right now, for great example, right? Everybody's freaking out about Boba Fett. Well, for good reason. It's a great deck. But Boba Fett is good because it has a really big power spike in the middle turns, right? 5 resources, 6 resources, 7 resources. Those 3 turns are where you have to survive through them. They're going to play Boba Fett and then something that's either a big 5-drop or overwhelming barrage or whatever. And then they're going to play Fett's Fire Spray, and then they're going to play Darth Vader. And if they don't, even better, but you just assume the worst. Assume that that's what you have to deal with. Mm-hmm. So you start with your counter build as, what do I need to do to survive that, right? What are my answers to that? And then kind of work your way backward into, like, once you have an idea of, okay, what could stop that, whether that's killing the units, restoring a bunch of health until you can kill the units, just winning faster, whatever it is, attack the problem.
Identify the
right.
problem, yeah. First and foremost.
I'd agree. Yeah, you check out what the deck does well and ask, well, how can I survive through that, and how can I throw speed bumps in front of that? And that will help you sort of eliminate the vast majority of cards that won't apply to whatever deck you're trying to build. For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, oftentimes if there's no silver bullet card that will just absolutely goon what's meant to be done or whatnot, oftentimes it's just a matter of, if you can't kill it, how can you slow it down enough where your win condition becomes more prevalent than theirs, becomes more real, or can be realized more efficiently than theirs. The other thing is that if it's it says, how do you counter build for a meta deck? If it's that meta and it's that important, it's that prominent within the field of decks that are being played, then probably a good portion of your sideboard should be there for what Charmer's saying is, find the remedies, find a little bit of, if you can't kill it, at least slow down the symptoms. Mm-hmm. Doa, you want to pick the next one?
Yeah, sure. Well, there was that second part of the first question, which is what's the process look like when prepping a deck? And
oh, sure.
I think part of that, I'll do the next question, but I want to really quickly add, a lot of it is iteration. A lot of it is going out and testing it, because some things that look good on paper will not end up performing the way you think they will. So make sure you put the deck through some testing too. That'll help too. But yeah, I'll just jump to the next question here from Lights Out. How do you evaluate what decks you might see for a given tournament, i.e. the tournament meta, and what do you, to what degree might you expect that to differ from the decks you're seeing locally for weekly events, even the same store? I mean, the big one is obviously for a more competitive event, you're going to see a more competitive spread of decks. You're going to see a lot less people testing things or trying out these sort of for fun decks. Most people are going to be playing a lot of what's agreed upon to be the best, decks in the meta. There will be some outliers. There will be people that think they've come up with some sort of great counter to the meta. There will be people that are just going to play their favorite deck no matter what. But for the most part, if you are aware of what the meta is, the top 3 decks, we'll say, expect to see mostly those and a lot less random stuff that you'll see at locals where people are more playing for fun. I think that's kind of the biggest thing you can expect, right? And playing around.
So to further elaborate on that, because the first part of this is how do you evaluate decks you might see for a given tournament? The first thing is just knowing what those are, right? So Doa is talking about, hey, if you think these are going to be the big 3, well, how do you know what the big 3 are going to be? The answer to that is usually following tournament reports, because right now, especially early on in the life of the game, we all have kind of access to the same information. And so whenever there's a big event, we're just kind of going off of whatever the last big event was, right? That's why everyone's talking about Boba Fett right now. Why? Because Boba Fett just did well at the last big event. But the moment we get another big event, that might change. Who knows? Obviously, when you go to your local events, pay attention to what people are bringing, what they're talking about. That'll give you a better idea at the local scene of what to expect. But if you're just talking about generic, like, hey, I'm going to an event and it's going to be a bigger event, just follow online tournament reports. It might not give you exactly everything you're going to see, but you're just trying to play to the odds, right? The odds are a lot of people are going to check those tournament reports and build something similar. And so you're just kind of banking on that.
So the common thread here is going to be just awareness and understanding and communication. Like if you have the awareness to, like you said, check out the tournament reports, but also be in the Discord, see what people are talking about, see what decks people are trying out. And that is for the broader scope, but even your own local game store. When you're there, I was at Black Knight Games in Hamilton, Ontario this past weekend. And at my table of 8 players, we had 8 different leaders. It's hard to evaluate because, again, it was low stakes. But if you're talking about something bigger where the meta might actually bleed into what you might see, that's where you have to find out what happened last week. How did things shake out? What performed well? What performed not so well? And then you have to do the mental gymnastics of, is this week the same as last, or are we already seeing an adjustment? Are we already seeing a correction? In which case you might want to take the deck that beats what won last week, or you take the deck that beats what beats last week. You know what I mean? Like, so a little bit of mind games there, but that's the basic part of it. One last one, and then we could say goodbye. Charmer, go for it.
So this comes from Strix, which, let me just say, really like the name, fellow bird enthusiast. The mailbag question says, you've talked before about characters you would like to make appearances on the cards. With some art revealed for the new set, we got to look at Dr. Aphra, who started as a character from the comics. How familiar are you all with the Disney expanded universe? Outside of the movies and shows, have you read or do you know about non-legend stories? And are there any characters, aliens, tech that has not had a show or a movie debut that you would like to see in the game?
Ooh.
We already talked about Prince Gisor, which if he doesn't have if we do see him someday and he doesn't have a pheromones event, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I forgot about the pheromones aspect of him. Dude was
Seduce
total
one of your opponent's units and bring them over to your side.
It's not even traitorous. It's just like, hey there, sexy.
I'm just come over to this side of the board. Yeah.
So I'm trying to understand here. Which what does it say here?
So
Outside
talking
movies?
about the character in the art, right? So in the art that was revealed, the female character with the pistol and has the goggles on her hat, that's Dr. Aphra.
Right.
Who is from the written stories.
So to answer the first part, I'm pretty aware of a lot of the canonical characters and such that have not had an appearance on either animation or in any type of visual representation. A lot of that is because I've watched a lot or I've read a lot of the books. One of them that I want very much is Erica Quell, who's from the Alphabet Squadron series. Very cool storyline behind Erica, and the reason why I want her is because she is a Imperial defector who then becomes the leader of Alphabet Squadron. Alphabet Squadron was commanded by Hera Syndulla, and Alphabet Squadron was tasked with hunting down the remnants of one of the most elite TIE fighter squadrons left post Endor. And what's cool about her storyline was that she took part in basically like the complete annihilation, Operation Cinder. They basically destroyed an entire planet, and she was part of it. And so many people died, and she was part of that. After that, she defected. She didn't even go back to her ship. She kind of like Operation Cinder happened, and she took off, and she defected. However, I'm not going to spoil any of the story. She has a very fascinating character arc. So I think that Erica Quell is the character who is a part of the expanded universe that is canon, that has not appeared in any TV show, any whatever. I would love to see a Erica Quell card.
Cool. I am not familiar with that at all, but now you make me want to go read it.
It's very well written.
I honestly haven't dived into a lot of the new EU stuff. I read a lot of the old stuff, which has been decanonized, if that's the correct term. So I need to catch up a little bit. I've been reading a little bit of the High Republic stuff, and that's like obviously an era that's pretty far removed from everything we've got so far in Unlimited, and you know, very far away from the Galactic Civil War. It's the prequels, you know, basically. But I think it'd be neat to see some stuff from there at some point, because there's some neat characters and some neat events and things. So, you know, maybe down the road, I guess. But I'm kind of just saying that because that's the only thing I've really got, you know, familiarity with as far as, you know, the new.
Yeah.
So I'm not a great person to ask about that, I guess. Sorry.
I'm not the best. I actually just tweeted about it this past weekend, where I'd been putting it off because I know that there's already a very large series of books, but I'm finally diving into the High Republic stuff. So I bought the first book. I'm actually currently reading it now. And so I'm sure it won't take me long, and I'll have consumed a bunch, and then I'll have much stronger opinions about the High Republic era. This is also hard for me because they said specifically like things that haven't made their debut. So like my go-to answer actually would have been for a long time Ayla Secura, because she was in a Dark Horse comic series that I really enjoyed. And obviously she's now been in several things, right? She was like a background character in, you know, the Attack of the Clones, the second movie, and then she showed up on Clone Wars and some of the other things. So she's technically made her on-screen debut, but I really liked her stuff from the Dark Horse comics, so that would have been my go-to. And the problem is there's not a lot of stuff that I enjoyed from the comics that I have read that don't have a debut, and then everything else is all previous stuff, right? So yeah, Shizor or anything from that expanded universe, like Mara Jade would immediately jump out to me.
That's the one that I was thinking of, was Mara Jade.
I can't remember her actual name, but there was the like Imperial spy chick who her nickname or code name was Iceheart.
Oh, Ysane Isard. Yeah.
Yes. I loved her. Thought she was a
from Rogue
badass.
Squadron series. Yeah.
Yeah. So like stuff like that would be my choices, but yeah, it's hard for me to somebody who hasn't already made a debut.
I want to see some more of the fringe stuff, and I don't mean like fringe in Star Wars terms. I mean just kind of on the edges of people's either knowledge or enjoyment from the stuff that exists from the original trilogy. Like I want to see a deck that lets me put together Figuring Dan and the modal nodes and like win via like a Battle of the Bands type thing. Or,
Max Rebo!
I've said it before many times. Pod racing. I want a pod racing expansion, and I want alternate win conditions via pod racing. So
they're coming, man.
Like, that's
for sure.
You know, that's stuff I'm just gonna keep.
I want a Jawa deck where every time you like defeat a vehicle or a droid, it like gives you like all your stuff is underpowered, but you defeat droids and vehicles to steal their parts, and if you get enough parts, you win. Like that's your alternate win con. Like
get scrap.
You drag them back to your sand crawler.
Put a scrap counter on your leader or something like that, or your base, and then when you have like 10 scrap counters,
the base is
the
sand
crawler.
Yeah.
I love alternate win conditions in card games just as a rule, and I acknowledge because I know the developers listen to all that. I acknowledge that balancing that type of thing and incorporating it into expansion is a very difficult process to go through. Whenever you introduce alternate win conditions, that's a huge can of worms to open up. That said, I really love them and I want to see them as soon as possible and start with them.
As soon as possible.
I'll leave it at that. As soon as possible, please.
All right.
I'm spitting all over my monitor. That's how excited I am.
It's okay. It's okay. And in a timely fashion as well. As much as you acknowledge, we acknowledge you, Tribal Chief, aka Roman Reigns, who lost the World Championship title to one Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare. I don't know why you said acknowledge me or acknowledge.
I'm the only person in the world that didn't watch WrestleMania, I guess. But
hey, we can't all be cool.
I would have liked to, just didn't have time.
It was amazing. All right. There you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all Star Wars U appropriate ages, I want to invite everybody also, make sure you check out the second installment of Hello There. I got to interview lead game designer Danny Schaefer. Lots of insight there into that. And I do want to remind everybody, please go check out our Patreon. Patreon is fired up. It is well integrated now with our Discord server, so check that out as well. Patreon.com/IceCaveRadio. There is a tier for you. For as low as $2 a month, you can help us out and support us here at the channel. We do have merchandise and clothing coming soon, and I do know that one famous artist by the name of Erik Lonnquist is...
Oh my God, I know him.
Yeah, is creating a very, very special 50th episode commemorative artwork for a t-shirt and for our playmats. So for those who are waiting for playmats and such, we got a good one for you. It's going to be amazing. I've seen some of the initial sketchings, but Erik has been very secretive about this piece of artwork, but I know that it's going to be amazing. And I know it's also not going to be a Cerveza Cristal.
I've been critical of the art in this game at times, so I really need to deliver if I'm gonna
just make sure the amount of fingers are correct.
I'm ready.
Yeah,
I'm ready. Oh my gosh, I'm not even gonna.
No, we're not talking about that. Yeah, 5-star reviews, all the other jazz. We're growing, baby, and it feels good. The Discord is bumping. Everybody's having a good time. Games are being played. The second set's around the corner. Feeling good.
I just want to say thank you to the people that do participate, whether you're active in the Discord or if you've already subscribed to the Patreon. Flake sent me an image of all the people that had already signed up, and I almost cried at work because it was way more than I expected. So we genuinely appreciate you all.
It's good stuff. It's definitely good stuff. And like I said, patreon.com/IceCaveRadio. You can get your name in the credits, as you'll see at the end of this episode. Introduce an episode, be part of the Pack of the Month Club. Lots of cool stuff. There's a myriad of options that you guys can go ahead and rifle through. We invite you and we welcome you. All right. You can get in touch with me at WatchFlake on Twitter, at GGDOA, for Doa at ThatCharm3R, at Ice Cave Radio for the whole crew. Discord's the best place to poke us. And that's about it. We love you. Charmer. You are just so beautiful, man. Have I told you lately that I love you? Have I told you that?
No, actually, it's been a bit. I miss you, buddy.
I miss you too. Well, we're all here. All right, friends. Thank you so much for listening to Ice Cave Radio. We will see you next week. Charmer, give him something to leave with. Give him a loot bag.
Or may the force be with you.